Hello, this is Angela Bennett and I'm speaking from outside the Selkirk Sheriff Court in the Scottish Borders. Today the case heard was the case from the Crown against an individual who has been cited to appear at the Selkirk Sheriff Court regarding evading arrest, they call it, or resisting arrest, and also for a breach of the peace. Now, this particular case has been called here at Selkirk Sheriff Court because the police, three police, turned up at an address in the Scottish Borders to arrest the black woman of the global majority. Now, it is said that the black woman hadn't paid a fine. Well, it was called a compensation on the 3rd of February 2023, but in actual fact, it's dressed up as compensation, but it's parading around as some sort of fine. Now, at the time of writing the warrant, a Sheriff Peter Paterson on the 26th of April 2024 at about 12:02 p.m. wrote out an arrest warrant. However, interestingly enough, the defendant had actually paid this so-called payment, which was cited as compensation, on the 26th of April at 11:05 a.m., which means that the warrant was written out an hour after the particular defendant had actually paid this warrant. So, does that make the warrant illegal? Well, it must do, because the warrant was written out an hour after the payment was made and received at the Glasgow Sheriff Court. So when the warrant was issued to three white male police officers that turned up at the black woman's home in the Scottish Borders, were they trespassing? Yes, there was. They had no legal reason to be at the address when they were there. And when they were there, they were brutal. They attacked her. They caused assault. They had, gender violence on this black woman. They intended to maliciously prosecute her. And they also falsely imprisoned her, and they also carried out a false arrest, as we know, because of the time scale between the warrant being issued and the payment being made. And so what does this mean for the police of the Scottish Borders? Well, the fear in the black woman, realising that she'd made this payment but the police had turned up, that is extremely worrying for anyone. What did the police want to do when they turned up? Did they intend to rape? Did they intend to sexually harass? What was the reason for turning up? Well, it's not very clear. But anyway, what is clear is that this case is brought to Sheriff Court Jedburgh, to the Sheriff Court Selkirk Court, and nobody really can tell the black woman why this case was actually brought to the courts. It's confusing. It really is. The police worried that woman so much, and in the, melee of what was going on, she just screamed for her life. I mean, wouldn't you? If you were a woman, hands down, and the police were just on you, arresting you, what would you say? What would you feel? How would you feel? What would you do? You're terrified. This was a campaign of racial hatred. This was a campaign to get a black woman that day. This was a heinous, abhorrent act by the police in this matter. Now, the case continues until next year. It has been adjourned, and the black woman of the global majority has now another opportunity to expose the racist, corrupt judge, or they call them sheriff in Scotland. And we'll wait to see what happens in the next episode of this terrible, heinous, racist, corrupt case in the Scottish Borders. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.